about last night. Maybe that's a good title for this one. Um, the gym was loud. It was really loud. I better I better cut out my music before YouTube flags it. How about that? I'm not kidding about this record thing. Charlie Brown Christmas. When that's one of the first, of course it's at Christmas time, but if it's that didn't get any better than that. It does not get any better than that. The album's green. I can't be any more festive than that. Anyway, back to last night. That gym was so loud, and the first thing I need to do, and I hope that the parents of our players do, and I told the girls before they got off the bus last night, they need to thank the teachers and the staff members at the school that were willing to ride a fan bus with a bunch of middle school kids to that game last night, because it had an impact on the game. It absolutely had an impact on the game. And I've been on the fan bus before when I first got to Illini Central, and the volleyball teams were doing great. It's funny how it comes full circle that one of the girls that plays for us, her mom was the coach of her first year coaching volleyball, and I was on those fan buses. And people don't have to give up their night to do that, and it's great that they did and they do. And you hope that it's appreciated. I'm sure it is. I'm just saying, you don't have to do it. You don't have to do that. It's not in your, you know, job description to ride on a bus with a bunch of kids that you're going to get them all wound up, and you want them wound up at a game and then have to ride home from Peoria with them as well. So when they're wound up because you ended up winning a really good game. So first thing, shout out to those staff members and those kids who signed up to come to the game, because they did. Again, they had an impact on how the game went last night. I don't know what to say about the fact that we're going to state. I don't know what I in a way I don't know what to say. I was riding. We were on the way home, and coaches and I are sitting beside each other, and Rhonda's sitting there with me, and we get about halfway home, and I look over at him, I'm like, we're going to state. Like, this group of fifth graders, sixth graders, and seventh graders is going to state. And when you start in September, you never have any idea what you're going to do, and you don't know what regional for sure. It's pretty early in middle school, not in high school, when you know where your regional is going to be, and that, and you don't know. You have no idea. And coaching is such a roller coaster. You don't know what you're going to get from day to day. I had a number of people yesterday like, how do you think the game's going to go? I'm like, you tell me. They're middle school kids. And, you're relying on, pre-teenagers. Here's the story for last night. One of them from last night. In the first half, we need and actually no, in the game at different times, we needed to play a fifth grader who has played but doesn't play all the time, doesn't start. And I mean, the gym is packed. It's there's people having to stand to watch because there's really not a whole lot of room to sit, or they choosing not to sit. But I mean, it's packed. And two really loud student sections, and the parents obviously are into it, and the fans from both teams are into it. And you're asking, I looked up her age today just to make sure, because I don't know how old a fifth grader is. I mean, this kid can't be 75 pounds. Just a little fifth grade girl playing in the middle of this storm of a game. Like, she turned 11 in September, and you're out there when it's just, you're guarding someone it's probably at least 6 inches taller than you, at least, and outweighs you probably by 15 pounds. and you're in the middle of this storm. Because sometimes when you're the adult supposedly in the gym, you don't realize that you're hooting and hollering, and they're still kids. And I'm not saying anything was negative. I just mean it's loud, and everybody's yelling at you to do this and do that, and you're trying to do what you've been taught since Labor Day weekend, and it's just there are times. I'm so glad that I have the ability at times that even in that moment where you're trying to, when I'm the assistant with the 7th grade and you're sitting there watching, that you're like, can you imagine being 11, just turned 11, and you're in a gymnasium, you've never been in this situation. You think what going to state means and hanging a banner in your school and winning another plaque, and you just won one 2.5 weeks ago, and you have no idea what really is going on, but you're in the middle of that, and you somehow have to have composure and not get rattled. And this little 5th grader just did it. And it's just one thing, like that's just one of the things when I say about last night. That's tough. What were you like at 11? What were you like at 11? I know what I was like at 11. Take that off there. Sitting there playing. What were you like? I know what I was like as a 5th grader. I was a ding dong as a 5th grader. I would have melted down in that situation. And this person didn't. So hats off to Jaden. That's tough. That's a tough thing to do, to be in that kind of, because I've been on the bench in high school boys games, and you've seen high school boys, whether they're from our school or from another school. Maybe it's being oblivious to the situation because you are just 11, but man, it's more intense than what you even can imagine, I'm sure. And then let's stay on the 5th grade side of things. We just got so many great little 5th grade kids on the team, and kids who this is their first year with us, who might be 6th graders. And they are just as lit up and as excited about it as the people who get to play all the time. And as a person who sat the bench I've said it before, other than my sophomore year, I rode the bench. I know what it's like to sit the bench. And, I always say, you are as big as a part of this as anybody else is. Your positive attitude on the bench, you're cheering for your teammates, you're picking them up when they're down. That is as important as anything. And there are people that would say, oh, yeah, whatever, you're just saying that. Well, I've been there, and I know how much it matters. And I've been a part of teams that did not have good groups on the bench who were behind their teammates. And oddly enough, they kind of got what they put into it. And, it's just such a good group. But we were talking on the way home, the coaches, we were laughing about when we beat Illini Bluffs on the 7th grade level, in the semifinal of the regional. At halftime, it was a close game, and they were good, and we weren't really, it was still up in the air. And we get done talking, and we're getting ready to leave the locker room, and one of the 5th graders raises her hand. And I'm going to be honest, you never know what's going to come out of a 10, 11-year-old's mouth in that situation. And you're like, do we really want to, what road are we going down? And I look at her, and I'm like, yes, Kensley. And again, you're talking tiny little 5th grader. And she says, I want to know, do you girls, do you want to win this? Do you want to win this championship? Because come on, let's go. And it was we just started not laughing at her. Just those are the moments that make it worth it. Because here's this kid, doesn't get a play in that game, doesn't play very much at all, but invested. That's a good word. She's invested. And there are people who believe that you got to play and you got to score and you got to, how many points did you have last night? And did you, Are you invested? You've come to practice and you've done things in practice and you're working hard, and you may not feel like you're getting much of a return from your investment, but you're still invested and you're still giving it everything you have, and you're still thankful to be a part of it. And that when we win that plaque, because I say this all the time, that plaque, every one of those 15 girls last night, they have something to do with it. They might not have scored a point. They might not have played a second. They are a part of it. And when they look at that plaque, when it gets put in our new gym, our new building here in a few weeks, they can always look at that plaque and know they were a part of that. They were a part of us winning a regional and now winning a sectional and going on to state and whatever happens with that. Last night was another one of those games that, and we have two people on the team who everybody would say are our top two people. I can say that. And if I don't know what issue you would have with it, but we do. We have a tall, very athletic seventh grader, and we have a quicker than can be aggressive seventh grader as well, who they are our leaders in terms of their athleticism and their ability. And they do a great job. And we also have the next, like the third, fourth, fifth, and sixth player on the team. They just go out and give you everything they have. They just play. They know, they defer to the other two because they know, but they also understand that they are as important, as I said, with the people who don't play much. They have to make plays. We're not going to Peoria. We went to Peoria last night. We're not going to the state tournament in Riverton on Saturday, if not for those kids. And I mentioned it in the podcast that I did after we beat Illini Bluffs. We're not doing this if it's not for those people. One of them scored 6 points last night. Then you might think, well, 6 points, how many did you just score? I'm not doing the math. It wasn't like she put up 15. But the 6 that she had were at a time when we absolutely needed it, where the other team was making a run and we were having to be careful and try to stay out of foul trouble and on and on and on. And if you were there, you know what I'm talking about. But when you're needed, do you step up? No matter what your name is, no matter who you are, we need you to do this, and you get it done. And that's what makes being a part of a team so special. And again, a team could be anything. A team could be the people that are getting ready to go to the school today, that maybe whatever they do isn't the most noticed thing, but they're making a difference every day. And if it wasn't for them, this kid might have a bad experience, or this kid might not, really look forward to going to school. That person's built a relationship with somebody that their little job that somebody might overlook. It's huge. You can't even explain how important it is. And again, last night was another situation where people just stepped up when we needed them. Making free throws, getting rebounds, hustling on the floor. Man, I love basketball. I love basketball. And I just, I think about that game again. And it comes down to the fact that you didn't quit. You didn't quit playing. And there were situations where we could have, and again, it was intense in there, loud. You can tell by my voice. My voice had kind of come back a little bit, and not after last night. Last night didn't help. and it's not going to probably be any better on Saturday. It's to have hung in there when they made a run back and we couldn't make some shots, and we had, a couple plays here and there that, could have gone our way, and we didn't let it go. We didn't let go. We just kept hanging on to the opportunity. It was funny, you said also on the way home, I don't remember any game this year where we didn't write anything on the whiteboard. In a timeout or whatever, we didn't write anything down. And you can say, well, what kind of coaching is that? Well, to be honest, and I'm not bragging on the three of us, but we must be doing something right. If you didn't have to write anything down or you didn't have to draw anything up, then you must have been doing something correctly since September. Because the things you talked about were the things that you had been talking about. And that makes me think about my dear friend, Coach Giesler. We've had this crazy gap between the regional championship and last night. In practice, I'm not going to lie to you, and if you're a parent watching this, please don't take it the wrong way, but I can't stand practice this time of year. Like this time is hard to practice. I've told a couple of people, and hopefully you understand what I'm saying, but like 2 hours right now, with the high school boys here, we won the state championship. We were leaving early every day because we were going over stuff. I mean, we weren't staying for 15 minutes, but we were leaving early later in the year because you've done what you have. If you haven't got it done by now, you're not going to get it done between now and Saturday. There's things to work on for Saturday, clearly, getting ready for the next team, and that's another thing. Hope that your kid plays. If your kid plays for a coach who, Coach Bradshaw, one of the three coaches, she's watching game film of who we're going to play at 1 o'clock on Saturday on the bus ride home as we're getting ready to follow the fire trucks. We're already talking about the next. And you could say, well, isn't that what I know a contrarian would say, well, isn't that what a coach is supposed to do? Well, yeah. Doesn't mean all of them do it. Doesn't mean all of them put that time in. And you're already looking forward to that, the next thing. And I was just, we were back to circle back. What I'm saying is to not have to draw anything on the whiteboard, to not have to, come up with something because you were ready. We were ready. And it was, tweak this and do that. And just, not major changes. It was just, let's do what Coach Giza would say. We do what we do. We didn't change a thing. Let's just play harder. Let's play together. Let's play for each other. And it was funny. I don't know if we've done it all year where we haven't drawn up something on the board. In that situation, in that environment, to not have needed to do that, I don't know. That's a tangent, I guess. Last thing. We live in a world where... we always hear people always say, or they post stuff on social media, and, your words and your words and your words and your words. And sometimes I think people say that, and it's true, and they believe it until it affects them, until they don't, we need more kindness. We need to be more kind. Be kind. Well, sometimes people are like, be kind until you make me mad, and then you make me mad, and I don't really need to be kind now because I'm mad because you made me mad. But your words matter, and how you talk to people, and how you I get teased sometimes because I constantly think about the words that come out of my mouth, and I know that the weight of them, and I don't mean that in an arrogant way, or I don't mean that my words mean more than somebody else's words, because that's not true either. Because we all know people who get their feelings hurt by people who say mean things that you honestly shouldn't give two hoots what that person thinks about you. So words matter. But I know from my experience and my track record that my words matter. And I know I have to measure them, and I measure them carefully. And during a little stretch in the second half, our point guard she had two rough turnovers in a row. And she's right in front of me on the second one. And I'm in the moment. You're in the moment. And that's two in a row. Bad turnovers. Silly turnovers. And I yell out at her, not mean, don't, like, we can't be doing that. And I see in her face, a defeated, instantly defeated, chin to chest. And you may have seen this a couple years ago. It was going around where you've got two high school teammates and they're playing in the state tournament. It doesn't really matter, but it appeared that was a big deal. And then one teammate goes over to the other teammate who's got his head down and he grabs him by the chin and pushes his head up. Get your head up. And when I looked out there and saw that kid do that, I wasn't trying, that kid knows me. I've chewed that kid out since September. But I said, get your chin up. Come on, let's go. And you think that stuff doesn't matter, and it matters. It really matters. It matters. You can sit in that crowd, or you can be wherever, you can be on that bench or whatever. You can think that how you say what you say doesn't matter. It matters. You're either helping or you're hurting. I don't know if you're doing I don't know if there's a middle. You're either helping or you're hurting. I don't think there's a middle. I don't think there is. And again, I'm not saying that person, Willie, was more down on herself than she was, Coach Wherley yelled at me. But I knew in that moment, I have the opportunity, I have the respect and the whatever that I can flip it back if you just let that person know that it's all right. Chin up. Let's go. I say that to say this. When I started coaching, I understood at 23 minutes, this one's going to be a little bit longer. When I first started coaching when I was a kid, again, I'm a dummy, but I'm paying attention. And I remember kneeling down in timeouts when kids were sitting on the bench during a timeout. And in my peripheral vision, I see mom here, I see mom there, I see dad here, I see grandma there in my peripheral. And I am not just talking to those 5 kids and the players surrounding me from behind. I'm talking to those parents and those grandparents. They're listening. They are hanging on my every word. And you can say, well, what does that happen? Why are you worried? I'm not saying I'm worried about it, but I know that I have the ability to, and other coaches have the ability to bring everybody together, or we can split everybody apart. I can get us all on the same page, or I can get us worrying about my page or your page. And I learned that somewhat as a player who sat the bench. I watched the person who coached, or, who was the coach, whatever sport I was in. I watched them deal with my friends, and I watched how they interacted with my friend. They'd yell at this friend, and he was a pouty baby and never played well. And I remember thinking, why are you doing this? Why are we getting on so-and-so? Because we know that makes them pout. I knew that made them pout. And they could get on this guy because he could handle it. Or we would kiss this person's butt when they did something minuscule right, but that didn't make them play any bit better. And so I will go to games. When I was the 8th grade coach studying with Coach Giesler, when he asked me to do that, I was always watching down to the other end. I'm watching the coach on the other side. I spent more time watching our Coach Burks, Coach Ryan Burks' dad, Kevin, fantastic coach, legend of a coach. I would watch how he would interact with his players. I watched different coaches interact with their players. And I know when I go to games now, I'm watching that too. I'm watching how other coaches are interacting. circle back and finish up. There was a person who coaches at the game last night who came up to me after the game. And nothing that happened last night got me choked up, because this isn't about me. I'm happy for the girls, and it was a blast. And listening to them on the way home when we drove around town and it was freezing and the wind's blowing 9,000 miles per hour, and hearing one of the sweetest, best kids in the back of the bus yell, "I can't feel my face." The only thing that got me last night was that coach, that friend, coming over after the game, nobody's around, and they noticed the chin up to Willie. And it didn't choke me up because I'm special or it was special or whatever. That's not what choked me up. What choked me up is I knew that I had done the right thing. But in the moment when you had to make the right decision, you made it. And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You got to understand. Your words matter. How you say them, who you say them to, and when you say them really matter. And you might not be a coach. You might not be sitting on the bench. You might not be doing what I do. But your words matter. What you say matters. How you say it matters. And when you say it matters. And sometimes, even when you're frustrated, that chin up, let's go, might be exactly what they need. I don't know how this is going to turn out. I just saw an error message pop up on my screen, so this might be not very good. I hope that's not the case. Anyway, we're going to state. That's got a nice ring to it. On the way home, I thought, I need to take the day off. And I'm not. Of course not. Back at it. If you listen to this, I hope you have a great day. And if you were there last night, thanks for your support and cheering and all that stuff. And wow. It's just basketball. But it sure is fun. Take care. Don't forget, because I'm right. Life is good. See ya.